I have Oliver sitting next to me. Kevin convinced me to let him be out here. So if at any point in time he starts barking, I'll just put him inside. But I'm excited. Yay, yay, yay. Oh, there she is. Elise is here. We're all here. I'm so excited. Okay. So I wanted to kind of set the tone for the call. Vibes are high. And then, I'll just intuitively choose and go to everybody on the call and give you guys the support you need. And it's going to be amazing. This call is going to be great. So I wanted to say that things can shift really, really fast. When you stay in the mentality that you're all in, you start to experience your business, money differently, right? Where you're no longer looking for those short, immediate wins in order to feel validated, because you know who you are, you know what's available to you, and you know that as long as you keep going, everything that you want is inevitable. So when you walk in alignment with that, everything that you want unfolds, and it begins to compound and happen faster and happen faster and happen faster until eventually it becomes your normal, your new normal. And then you get to live and create life and money and business from there. Yay. Okay. So setting the vibes, I'm going to go through and we're going to choose intuitively. I'm going to start with Megan. And just let me know how you're doing, what you want, desire support around right now, and we can go from there.
Hi,
I'm so excited. Hello.
I'm so excited too. Oh my god, I'm so good. I think what I'm looking for support around is what I've been noticing in myself. So I'm launching my one-on-one program right now, and I think there's like a part where like energetic protection is kind of coming in around. People are reaching out, but we're not like getting past the initial stages or like, you know, that kind of vibe. So yeah, I've been trying to like figure that out.
Perfect. So, you know, energetic protection, and this is like one of the culprits. If you're desiring to sign clients and aren't, we always have to look at, is there any reason why we wouldn't want them, right? Like, for example, for me, what I've always had to look at, and what's been the only thing that's ever really stopped my flow of clients, is my schedule. Honestly, like when I look at, like, do I actually have space for them? Like, do I actually feel ready for them? Do I actually feel prepared for them, like energetically and physically and tangibly, right? And when I look at those things and I look at them, I can actually get clear on yes or no. And if the answer is no, do I desire to make space? Yes or no? Yes. And then I make the space, and then it's like, my mind gets to be clear, right? It's like the energetic protection is something we have to look at, because it's like, I explain it like this, where it can be a thought or a feeling that's in the back of your mind, right? And I explain it like a feeling or a sensation of like being a little kid and laying in bed and the lights are out and you have this, you're convinced that there's a monster under your bed, right? And so you lay there and you're paralyzed and you don't know and you don't know. And so like, that's kind of like what energetic protection feels like to some degree, where it's like, I'm not sure, right? So I'm always like, get out of bed, look under the bed, right? And you'll know one of two things. There either is a monster under the bed, there either isn't a monster under the bed and you're good and you can relax and receive, is kind of what it feels like, or there is a monster under the bed and you know what you're working with, essentially. So it's either, for my example, it was either true or not true that I had the space or the time. And if it wasn't true, then it's like, oh, cool, I can just relax around that and be receptive and receive. Or it is true and I get to rearrange it. Does that make sense? So when you feel into what, like, so when they reach out and it's like, yay, what happens after that? Like in your mind, in your energy, is there something that comes up that feels like you contract?
Now that I'm like reflecting on this, it feels like the thoughts that come up are around like the ideal client, I guess, that I would want. And I think I'm thinking of like two different instances where two people reached out and they weren't like, I kind of knew they like weren't a good fit. And so I guess I kind of like contracted around, people that I want to actually come in, like the you know, the vibe of the people that I'm desiring, will they actually reach out? And I think that's where.
Yes, they will. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've experienced that before in my business, where it's like, when you start to open your energy, it's like, as you start to open the doors and maybe your energy isn't super clean around it, like people start reaching out, but maybe they're not the aligned fit. But it's like, to me, the pivot into receiving aligned clients, like people that you're like, oh my God, they're joining. Yay. I'm so excited. Right. Like those people, it's like, you have to expect that those people want to work with you.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to own that. Like it, because to me, like the difference between like people reaching out who you're like, right? So first step is, I always view people in their power, and I'm always looking at them through the lens of who I desire to work with. But I also am trusting my intuition at the same time. And I just trust that those who are ready will move forward, and those who are a good fit will move forward, and those who aren't won't. And I trust that completely. Right. So if basically, like, who you are and how business is like, you're not here to settle. You're not here to settle, Oliver. You're not here to, he's like, what's that? He is like in his like puppy puberty, and he is like getting neutered next week. So he is like,
oh no,
with like hormones right now. Anyways, so he's very territorial. Anyways, so yeah, like you don't have to settle is my point. You don't have to settle. Like you get to own the energy, like that you get to work with who you want to work with. And like, you're allowed, you're enough, you are that person. You just have to own that in your energy and in your frequency. And then those are the people that are going to start being drawn to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So okay. Where are you not owning it, and how can you own that? Like, kind of like what we were talking about so far in magnetic, where it's like, who do you say you are? And like, are you being that? Like, are you being that with the narrative in your mind? And are you being that like in the way you treat yourself, the way you view yourself, and the way you interact with yourself? And when you do, you will naturally be that online. You will naturally radiate that energy out into the universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay.
Good.
Cool.
Yay.
Oh, I had like one more question if we have time.
Yeah, of course.
So the other thing I've been noticing is like when money comes in, I kind of have this like desire to spend it, and it feels like there's always something I want to spend it on. So I think I'm having trouble like the like holding on to money vibe, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Let me just put Oliver inside really quick. So
okay.
1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We won't have any more interruptions. Sorry about that. Okay, so holding on to money. You desire, so for me, it's like when money comes in, if I want to spend it, it's like not making yourself feel bad or wrong for wanting to spend it, or making that mean that if you spend it, like that you're not going to have money. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or that you're not going to keep money, because it's like, if you, it's practicing limitation, it's practicing scarcity, right? Because it's like, if money comes in, you're like, oh, I want to spend it on that. And you make yourself bad or wrong for wanting to do that, and then you do it anyways, that's from lack, and it perpetuates lack. Or if you make yourself bad or wrong for wanting to do it, and then you hold it, then it's like, it's perpetuating lack either way. So it's not about spending the money or not spending the money. It's how you're feeling, what you're believing, and what you're deciding it means when you spend or when you don't. That's what needs to get looked at. And then when you shift that around, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't, like, for me, how I feel about things is like, I don't limit my spending. And when I want something, I buy it. And when I want something, I do it. And it's like, I just practice a perspective of like, I get to have what I want, and I don't split my energy when I spend my money. And if I don't feel in the place to not split my energy in the purchase, I either need to shift that and spend it, or I'm not going to do it yet until my energy around it feels clean, because I'm not going to spend from a distorted energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so when you kind of have that standard in your relationship with money, that everything, you get to have what you want, and you're going to, when you spend, you're going to do it from an energy that feels really good. You'll notice that it's like, you'll notice the ways in which in the past where you would spend and be like, oh, shouldn't have done that. Right. And then, from the scope and the truth of you're creating your own reality, you'll be able to see why things have been going the way they are or have been, which is like, I spend and I don't keep money, right? Because keeping money is not about spending less. It's about changing your frequency, right? And I know this because when I worked on this, that I could receive money, but I couldn't keep money. And so naturally I did what felt logical at the time, which was like, let me spend less. Right. And when I did that, I just made less. So I didn't do anything. I was like, well, my bank account is staying exactly the same. What the fuck is up with this? Right. And so first I had to admit what I wanted, and I had to change my perspective on how I felt when I spent my money or when I didn't spend. And I got to feel completely aligned and back myself up fully 110% energetically. And then it was like I started experiencing that overflow of having money in the bank. And when I decided to, and like I noticed little things shifted where it's like when I would open my bank account and look at my bank account, it was like there wasn't as much like, what's the feeling, like pressure almost around like what the numbers meant, like, or this amount in the bank account isn't gonna last. Like I noticed these subtle things that wanted to come forward that I was like, these don't feel true anymore. And then it was like I could just look at what was in my bank account and feel like it was like just gonna keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. Is how I truly felt about it, whether or not I spent or didn't spend or bought this or didn't buy this or whatever. Like I still held that energy of like my bank account was up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that.
Good. Yay. Do you feel good? Do you feel complete? Do you have anything else?
I think I'm good. I feel complete. Thank you.
Welcome. If anything else comes up, feel free to just drop it in the chat.
Okay.
Perfect. Veronica.
Hello.
Hi, love. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Your fingers. Yeah. How are you, love?
I'm good. I feel like so happy to be here. This feels like perfect timing.
Yay.
Okay, so I'm starting a new group, which I've said a little bit about, but I kind of like, I feel like I'm off. I'm off, but I don't know like exactly what. I don't know like if I think it's in like the vision, because it's like I'll feel like really clear in like what I want it to be, and then it's like, and then when I try to like describe it to somebody else, I'm like, I don't know, wait, what is this again? Like, so yeah, I can tell you, and then you can be like, oh, this feels unclear, or maybe you already have something to add.
So feel free to start telling me, but I already have a little bit of a vibe, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Okay, well, here, it's easier for me to read my little thing that I wrote. So, well, I'll tell you first and then read it if I need to.
Wait, can I interrupt you?
Please, yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait, the vibe actually wants to come out first. Okay. So, so what I found to be true is that I feel unclear in my offering if I'm listening to rules. Right?
God, I have so many rules in my life.
So for example, like my next program that I'm doing, Sell, Slay, and Be of Service, I've actually done a launch program before, but the last time I launched it, the launch wasn't as good because I felt so unclear and my energy wasn't like, which is like what I need in order for my things to sell, because I need that in order to feel good about what I'm offering. And when I feel good about what I'm offering, I'm available for sales. Right? So, I started, and I remember why this happened, because I remember feeling this sensation of like, I don't feel super clear of how I want to teach this. And when I reflected on it, I realized that I was teaching it how I thought I should. Right? And I was teaching it like, so what do people need to know on launches instead of what do I actually want to teach on launches? Because I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I don't have to teach strategy if I don't want to. And that was where I got in my head, like I should tell them what I do. And I was like, well, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right, because my strategy is never finite. I get into alignment and I do what I'm led to do. So I'm going to teach them the energy and the mindset as per usual. Right? And so this time, like I changed it, Sell, Slay, and Be of Service. This launch is going way better than that launch went. And I feel really good about it and I feel excited. And like, I remember as I was channeling in this program, it like, I felt that same block come up because I was listening to a rule of like, in order to talk about launches, I have to include this. And I didn't want to. And I was like, no, I don't. And it'll still be good. They'll still get what they need. Like it'll be an amazing program. And, then it just clicked. So what I would ask you is, when you disconnect from clarity, does it feel like because I feel like lack of clarity is often a protection mechanism, or it's a dissonance, right? It's like a disconnect energy. So it's either like we're listening to rules and disconnecting from the desire, right, of how we actually want to be doing it. And the desire is the creation energy. It's the inspiration. It's like, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? Or we're feeling self-conscious about the offering or something. And so when we bring it forward to other people, are we saying it's not enough? And then we disconnect from clarity to protect us from feeling that sensation of potentially being rejected in our offering, right? Mm-hmm. So I would look at that. Does mm-hmm. either of those feel true for you?
Yeah, well, it's like the same. I feel like what happens, it's like for me, everything that I bring usually to this container is like the same from a different angle. So, like what I was noticing as you were talking was like, I do, I obviously everyone works best as they connect to the desire, but like in my field, it feels really like people don't really work that way, So,
who doesn't work that way?
Like just my colleagues.
Well, good thing you're not them.
Right. No, I know. And I mean, I'm with you. It's just, it makes it like more difficult for me to like, I come out and I'm like, this program's going to be amazing. And like, usually everyone else operates of like, we're going to like find your deepest wounds and like, just like, it's going to be tough. Like it's like that vibe. And so I find myself being like, yeah, is it safe? And I mean, I know like, yes, it's safe. Yes, I want to keep doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think that is part of it for sure.
And here's the thing, it is safe because it's like, just because it's unfamiliar, it feels, so to me, when I kind of feel into the energy for you, it feels a little bit like I might be breaking some rules or whatever, because I'm going against some unspoken rule, right? Of like, we do it like this, or maybe it is an actual rule that's written down somewhere, but I feel like it's more the unspoken energy.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do it in this way that feels fun and that feels good, instead of being like, I must be serious and we must find their wounds and we must dig into the deepest traumas and right?
Yeah.
But it's like,
tell me about your mother.
Whose love did you crave the most growing up, your mother or your father?
Yeah.
And but it's like, you can do it however you want. Like, I know that you have an employer, but it's like I feel like you have more freedom than you realize.
Yeah, I do.
And they're not like, you get to just do it how you want to do it and just own it to yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to be like, hello, all of my colleagues, I'm doing it like this, get on board, motherfuckers, right? Like, you don't have to do that at all, but it's like when you own it for yourself and you just utilize that creation process, because to me it feels like a little bit like the clarity is shuts off because it's like you're not giving yourself permission to utilize it, even though nobody's told you no.
Right. I think another aspect of it is something that Barbara's talked about before, which is like, I mean, I don't know. I internalized it as Barbara, but maybe not. Like Barbara's like, I didn't fucking say that. But like whenever I feel like, when I'm working with a person, it's like, oh, I know exactly how to like help you, or I know exactly like, and I have like all this like realm of information, but it comes down to like, because I know like kind of in my spirit, like how I want this group to be, but it's like finding the language for it or the organization for it. It's like, I hear you and saying like, be led by your desire, but also I'm like, I don't know if I've ever I don't know if language covers it. Like, like, I don't know. I'm like, it's like, it's just not, I don't know. Are you feeling me?
So you don't feel like you can convey your message in words is that what you're saying? Like, it's hard to put words to what you're feeling or the desire?
I guess. Yeah. Well, and I guess a lot of the power feels like it'll be in the container. A lot of the power feels like between me and my co-facilitator.
I know what you're saying. So what if you so to me, it's like this thing of like, I have to know how to say what I'm doing, but it's like, that once you get into the container, that it's just going to be that thing that you can't quite explain, that thing that you can't quite put words to, that once the container is created and facilitated and the people are there, it's just going to be that, right? So can you just simply trust, know, and decide that people, like, if you don't know how to say it, just feel it and people will know it, right? It's like that, like, I've done this with so many offers, and like I know exactly what you're saying, and I'm even doing this with self-study and of service. Like there are some aspects of it that I'm not super clear on of how to explain it. Like I don't even have module names. I don't have module names on the sales page. And it's a course and it's supposed to have modules and blah 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 blah. But it's like I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to like I'm just going to let it be what it is and trust that it's going to be exactly what it's meant to be, and hold that energy instead of be like, oh, because I don't have module names, or the blah, blah, blah feels a little unclear. Like when I really sat with it, it was like, this isn't actually supposed to be like that at all. So it being how it is now and just trusting, knowing, and deciding that it will be exactly as it's meant to is perfect, is enough. When I show up in that energy, it will be that. It is always that every single time when I allow myself to show up in that energy either way.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Well, what I guess like wrestle with is, what part of that, like not knowing, is just like the protective layer of like confusion, and what part is like, hey, I just don't have language for it, it's fine, just keep feeling into it.
Well, that's what you get to use your discernment to know. When you sit with it and you feel it, does it feel like not creating clarity around this is a sense of like avoidance or protection or whatever, or does it feel like, no, it feels forced, and it feels like it doesn't need that, it doesn't have to have that? Like when you actually sit with it, knowing that you know the answer, right, because you're Veronica, that it's like, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like a little mix. I think one more thing that I just want to hear you like tell me is, so I set the time, like the time when I was like, when do I really want to have this group? I want to have it from 10:30 to 12 on Tuesdays. And like, that's a hard time for people. I mean, this is my belief. It's like that I want to move through, right? Like it's a hard time for people to come because they work, but I'm like, that's when I want to have it. And I want to believe that people are going to come at that time. But it's like, I'm having a really hard time shifting that.
So do you believe that there are people, do you believe that there are people in the world who could benefit from your container that could make that time work? Like hypothetically, do those people exist in your area?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, does it have to be true that people can't make that time work? Or is it actually even true?
No, yeah. I only need 9 people, or I only want 9 people.
Are there 9 people in your make that work?
9 people in all of Houston. Yeah.
Just 9, right? And I was saying this on a module, or was it a Q&A? Yeah, a Q&A for Magnetic yesterday, which is all about attracting clients. And I was like, when you know it just takes one person, like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine anybody paying me that. I'm like, is there one person in the world who would, and who would happily do so and would massively benefit, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, then it just takes one in the world. So if you want 9, it just takes 9 in the city. That is so doable. There are 9 people who would happily do it, who would make it work, and who either schedules already accommodate it, or who would happily rearrange their schedule to accommodate being there and benefiting from your container.
Okay.
You don't need to be a match. It doesn't need to be like that for everybody. You just need to be a match the people, the 9 people. Or the
right. Yeah.
One, and the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. So right now, your brain could be like, to get your mind behind it, it's like, do I believe there's one person in my city who can make this time work and wants to be a part of this container? Yes. Cool. So I'm just going to be a match to that one person. And then someone joins. And then you're like, do I, one more person? Yes. Join. One more person. Yes. Join. Ooh, 9.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My intention of getting on this call was like, I just want to feel good about this one group. And so I feel like I need to feel into it a little bit more, like on my end, but I don't think I have any other conscious questions.
Perfect. Well, if anything else comes up, drop it in the chat or bring it forward on Voxer. Got you.
Okay.
Perfect. Awesome. Barbara. Good morning, sunshine.
Hello.
I love sleepy Barbara.
I know, right?
How are you doing, love?
Yeah, I'm good. I listened to your messages.
Good.
Because I've been up for like, I don't know, I've barely slept. I've just been up. I don't know. I'm just like, can't sleep. But like, no, I listened to your messages, and it's definitely like I've been triggered by something, and then after listening to your messages, I was like, when did this start, Barbara? Like, when did this start? And then I was like, it started when the guy that I'm dating said, you're really short with messages sometimes, like what's with that or something. I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, he messages me throughout the day and I'm trying to focus on my work. And then he's asking me like really detailed messages. And then I have to like take my mind off business and like my creativity and like my mindset there, and then go into what he's asking me, and I get annoyed. And I think that's where the maybe he's getting this like vibe that I'm being short with him because I'm getting annoyed, like, oh, I'm taking the focus off my business now, like, you know. And then I felt bad, so then I was like, oh, damn it, the business is taking me away from love again, like, hate you business, like that same cycle that was coming
it's that story,
a while
that
ago.
feeling, right? But it's not. So I hear what you're saying, and you know, these are things I've had to navigate in my life as well, so I'm familiar with that feeling. But the way I see it is like, it's not like these little instances of like, I desire to be grounded into my work right now, and this is where my focus is, or I desire to be with my partner right now, and this is where my focus is. Like, it doesn't have to all add up to be this narrative that the business is taking over your life, right? So, you know, like, and the last few days, it's slowed down a little bit today, because I'm gotten more organized with it. But you learn as you go. But you know, my inbox was fucking crazy the last few days on my social medias, and I was like, could not keep up with it. And I was noticing that I was like trying to get everything done and blah 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 blah. And I was like, my desire is actually to be with Kevin in this moment, but I also want to catch up on these messages. What do I do? Kind of a vibe. And literally what I did, it's like that discernment in the moment, right? Where it's like, it doesn't always have to be this finite rule of I always must blah, blah, blah at this time or that time, or do this then, do that then, whatever. It was like in that moment when I felt into what I wanted and what was in alignment for me and the life I desire to live, which is not just the business, which is also the relationship and also the health and also the things, is in this moment I want to be with Kevin. And so I stopped the messages, and I was like, because I had this thing in my mind that was like, if I don't get back to them today, like that will feel bad, or blah 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 blah, or people will think blah blah blah, that I'm taking too long or whatever. And I was like, I'm just gonna be with Kevin and trust that everyone knows my heart, right? And so in that moment, it was like that that discernment of like, this is what this moment is for, right? And so you can do that and check in throughout the day, where it's like, maybe one moment you get back to your partner later while you're in your zone, in your flow with work and in your business. Or it's like, maybe you mentally pause for a moment, talk to your partner, and then come back in, and you don't make it mean that you drop the flow, or that your partner is getting in the way of your business, right? It's like the areas of your life do not have to fight with each other. They can all coexist and be in harmony with each other and support each other. And as you grow your business, and as you have a partner, and even the same thing, as you continue to maintain your health and well-being in your body, it's going to be a process of learning to navigate how to allow every part of your life to be in support of each other. But it's like, just if it's not perfect right away, doesn't mean that your business is taking over your life, or your relationship is taking over your business. Like, it's just a process of learning how to navigate, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely like,
because I noticed
definitely just a fear. Like, what were you gonna say?
When this stuff comes up, it's like that story can kick in, where it's like, shit, it's taking over, and then it's like, that's when you get overwhelmed, and then that's when you shut down one area, right? But it's like,
I get scared because, like, so he said that, right? He said that, and then I like took all the focus off my business and focused my energy on relationships. I was like, okay, I need to like focus on relationships. And then now I'm annoyed because everything's fallen apart. Like even the relationship, I feel like he's so busy with work now, and it's like, what? Like now you're like not even texting me back all day long, and I'm barely hearing from him, barely seeing him. And then so I'm just like resenting that, but then also coming back to this mindset of I'm just trying to feel into it. It's kind of like I'm going to run out of time and I'm never going to have children. And then it's like, it feels so real because it's like you do have a biological clock, Barbara. And then it's just like my brain goes all messy. And then I'm just like, how can it's like, what if I do that thing again where I focus on the business, because then I think that the guy will like just come anyway. But then, it's just like, it's this weird vibe of like, I can get so excited about my business where I don't pay attention to anything else because I just love
right. Yeah.
career. Like I've always been obsessed with career. So it's like, I don't trust myself.
Right. And I so hear that and I get that and I relate to that. Feel like I've had that narrative as well in the past, and I am someone who really loves my business. And if, if I didn't have any other priorities or values in my life, I would probably just work all the time because I love my business. I love growing it. I love working with women. I love supporting my clients. Like I would just do it all the time. But it's like, I also know that what's important to me is my relationship, is me like spending time with my dog, is me like taking care of my body, is me having stillness, is me spending time with my family. And so it's not from a place of pressure or tension, but it's like, it's to me, how I look at it and how I shifted that for myself was like, I get to I know that these things are all priorities for me in my life, and I'm going to give myself grace. Like if ever I feel like I'm, like I get to be like the business, and I get to be the mentor, and I get to be the money bitch, right? But I also get to be Kevin's girlfriend and Kevin's partner and Oliver's dog mom and my sister's sister. And I get to be all of these people, and they all get to coexist and all get to work together. But it doesn't mean I have to in one moment be doing the business and being with the sister and my partner and the dog and working out and eating well and like all of that in one moment would be overwhelming, and I would feel like I would have to choose between something and something else. And then it would be like, oh, if I choose the business, I'm an asshole, my priorities are fucked up, or blah 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 blah. If I choose a relationship, well then my business is going away. But it's like, it's that mentality of having to choose, which in itself is flawed because you don't. Right? There's enough time in a day to be a partner, to be a sister, to be a friend, to be a dog mom, to be an individual, to be a lover, to be a business owner. There's time in the day, but it's like we won't experience that reality if in our internal narrative we're telling ourselves that we don't have enough time for the things, or we don't have space for all of them. Or if we fall into these narratives, right, that it's like this is taking away from that, then it's like we have that overwhelm stuff happen, and then our brain kind of shuts off, and it doesn't see what's actually true, which is like there's space and time for it all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely have this overwhelm pattern that like takes over, and then I don't have that clarity, so then it's all distorted. So yeah, I think when you were saying that too, really just like the voice inside of me was like referring back to a memory with my sister when I was like, I've always been so career focused, like I said, like I've always been like that. I've always just dived into careers, and I think part of it I was questioning also whether that was a protective mechanism as well, though, like that I've avoided relationships, and like, because it's like, why am I my age and I'm single yet I've always wanted a partner? And then I was like, well, part of it is that I do avoid relationships because like when I first graduated from high school, career became my identity and my confidence, because it was the only aspect of life where I felt like I finally achieved something, because I was shy and like socially incompetent, I felt like, so then I was like, well, maybe that's why it feels real, because like, and then like my sister once said to me, you just don't pay attention to us, you're just always focused on your stuff, like you don't try and get to know us, you don't try and get to know my kids and blah 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 blah. And it was just like that feels real too.
So
And it's like,
Barbara, so to me, it feels like this narrative underneath the surface of like people pleasing, right? Like whether that's your sister or some standard of who you have to be or how things have to go in order for you to have the relationship you want or to have the business that you want. And so it's like so then it feels like whatever thing you're focused on is all encompassing, right? Or all enveloping, right? And so when you can look at, so to me, it's just like grounding back into the knowing that you want it all. You want the relationship. You want a good relationship with your family, right? You want to spend time with your family. You want to spend time with your partner, and you want to work in your business. You want to take care of yourself, right? So yes or no, do you want all of these things? Yes or no?
yeah, like I want a partner.
So with that, so with knowing that, your brain goes, okay, this is what we want. So your brain starts to go, how can we do this? Right? And it tries to solve the problem and clear it out with one decision or one knowing. And that's not how it works. So we have to reel the mind back in and say, this is created one day at a time, one moment at a time, one awareness at a time, one at a time. Right? And so what that means is you get to navigate this moment by moment, day by day, and give yourself grace, right? So, because I've worked myself out of this story personally in my business and in my life in other areas. Like year one of my business, I gained like 20 pounds. And you've met Gianna in person. I'm like the same height as her. Like that is I'm like 5'3", so it's very noticeable. And I didn't take care of my physical health. I was in a relationship with a man I didn't love, and I didn't even know it because I was so disconnected. And it was like that all enveloping, like I just did my business and that was it. And it was from that same narrative of like, I don't know how to have it all. And like, I don't know how to like fully show up for every area of my life. But then when I started to incorporate my health back in and then do the inner work with my relationship, it was like, I got to work on these things while I held the business and while I grew the business. And it was like, this moment is for business. This moment is for relationship. This moment is for working out. Instead of like, for example, being like at the gym on a treadmill, working out and moving my body or whatever. And then being like, thinking about what do I need to do today in my business? How do I get it done? Right? It's like presence. Presence is key. When you're here in this moment for the business, be with the business. When you're here in this moment with the partner, be with the partner. When you're here in this moment with your body and yourself, be with self, right? And from there, you're always going to just move into the next thing and you will have time for it all. But what I've noticed for me, like in year one of my business, I could only be in the business because all I thought about was the business, right? Whether I was with my partner or thought about working out, I was like, nope, because in my head I was in my business, right? But it's like when we can, you know, like even today, like this morning, I woke up and like a key thing for my mindset to be in alignment every day is I can't get into an obligation mentality of like, I have all these things I have to do. Cause like, that's not true. Every single thing that is on my schedule, that is in my life, I put it there, which means I want it there. And so I wake up in the morning and I look at I have spaciousness in the morning. I don't work right away in the morning. I walk outside. I take Oliver on a walk. I look at the sky. I breathe in. I feel the sun on my face, whatever. And I am aware that I can do whatever I want. Technically, if I wanted to, I could reschedule all of my calls in one day and do nothing. If I wanted to, I have that freedom. I feel free to do what I want, right? But it doesn't mean I'm rescheduling anything, rarely, very, very rarely. In fact, almost never. But I have the freedom to. And so nothing is a have to. And so I feel free. I have space in my life and in my mind, right? And because I have space in my mind, I am here now and then here now and here now and here now and here now and here now. And so when I'm here on this call, I am with you ladies. When I am with Kevin, I am with Kevin. And it wasn't always easy. It took practice to get there. And I did little things like in year one of my business, I had my notifications on my phone. So I would see if somebody would message me on Facebook. I would see if somebody liked my post, if somebody commented on my post. I would see if someone messaged me on Instagram. I would see it all. And my mind was always there. And I was like, I don't have any mental space for anything else. So I don't know what I want. I don't know how to be in a relationship and have a business. I don't know how to take care of my body and have a business or do all of these things, but I know I want all of these things. So I shut my notifications off. I don't know if anybody messages me or whatever, I have to go in and check if I have messages. I have to go in and check my Voxer. I have to go in and check these things. So because when I'm not doing that, I'm going to be here. And because I'm here, I have so much space. It's like my mind is a blank canvas and I have so much space and so much time. So everything I do very intentionally. Does that make sense? Whereas if your mind is in the business while you're with your partner, you're not with the partner and you don't know how to be in the relationship and have the relationship be in alignment the way you want it to be. Or if you're in your business, you're thinking about the relationship because the relationship feels all enveloping in your mind because you have these stories and these pressures and these things going on, then it's like you can't be with the business. But it's like, you know what to do when you're there as long as you're there with it. When you're with your man and things come up, you know how to handle it, even if it's a trigger, even if it's a blah, 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 like you've done it. You're an intelligent woman. You know who you are. You know what you're doing. And same thing in your business. You know how to handle it when you're there with it. Does that make sense? So it's just like practicing being there with the thing that is there right now in front of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, totally. I think,
instead of thinking about what you're going to eat tomorrow, you're here. Is my body hungry? Yes. What does my body want in this moment? You're not like, I wonder if next Friday I'm going to eat like shit and gain 5 pounds. Like you're not there. You know what I mean? You're here. So in this moment, you have your guidance. You know how to navigate the things and you're not overwhelmed. So you're not shutting off your brain and falling into these stories and then like shutting off, right? Because you're not overwhelmed because you're not thinking about what you're going to eat for the rest of your lifetime. You're thinking about what your body wants in this moment. So it's the same thing with the other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think I like last month was the month where my relationship was really good and it was also the biggest month.
You have evidence that's true.
Yeah, whereas this month actually the relationship feels shit and the business feels shit. So it's like it doesn't even make sense that the story is true.
Right. But you can see that the things feel shit because of the story, but the story was never true. You just created these things because you started walking in alignment with that story, but you actually have evidence that the opposite is true, that it's normal for your business and relationships to thrive because well-being and thriving is the drumbeat of the universe. It's normal, right? Unless we create stories and narratives that interfere with that and then walk in alignment with the narratives, right? So it's just like being aware of that and being like, this story isn't even true. And I have plenty of time. I have plenty of space. And you caught it halfway through the month instead of the 30th. So you're definitely improving. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell I knew what was happening, but like sometimes it's just, I don't know, because like I did want to focus on some relationship stuff. Like I did feel like I wanted to focus on that, but it's kind of had the opposite effect because he's like getting pushed away. So I'm like, what? Okay, so why is this though? What's my intention here? And it was like more like I have an intention to control the outcome. So I was like, okay, that's why. So I'm trying to control this outcome. And then I was like, also why, like, where did I go from wanting to spend lots of time with him to not wanting to spend lots of time with him? Because I was like, I was manifesting him like spending lots of time with me and then all of a sudden it stopped. I was like, I'm creating my own reality. So what's going on here? And it was like, I didn't want, he's got lots of money issues with his mum. And then I was like, I don't want to get married to, like, I felt like an aspect of, I don't want other people to control my money. So therefore, like, it's not safe to get involved with somebody on that level.
So your partner's life and your partner's narratives are not yours. If anything, like none. So when you are in a partnership and in a relationship with somebody, nothing in the relationship is finite or final. Things get to evolve, things get to change, and things get to get better. And what I truly believe about partnership is women lead the relationships. Like what I've said to you guys before is like women are the neck, men are the face, right? So it looks like men are, it looks like men are leading, but women got point in the direction, right? Or the neck.
Yeah.
Movement, right? And so men respond to us, right? So when we're in an energy of pulling, the man responds with pushing, right? Like away from me. When you're in a vibe of like pushing, the men wants to pull, like they're responding to our energy, right? And so in this moment, for example, where you're aware, because you're creating your own reality, and that you're aware that your energy leads the dynamic of the relationship, and you see that the relationship dynamic has shifted in a way that you don't necessarily like, and you look at like what's going on within your energy to address that, then it's like in that moment you're being with your relationship and you're doing the work, and then you address the things, right? And then when your mind goes to your business, you can be with your business. Like you have time and space to do it all. And anytime that narrative comes forward in your mind, here going forward, Barbara, I want you to just look at it instead of believe it. Like say, interesting thought, instead of like, it's true. And that will take what's the word? Like some work. But it's like, I want you to set that intention where it's like, I will no longer identify with this story that is simply that, a story, a narrative, a lie from like wherever, like a lie from hell. It's not true, right? And the reason why you felt that distortion and that lack of time, the lack of like being able to do all the things, is simply because your brain took on that thought as true, that narrative as true, and began to create and view life accordingly, right? But it was never true.
Yeah.
Not time and space for it all.
Yeah, I think like the thing with like getting into a relationship with somebody that he's interested in mindset and manifestation, but also like he's not conscious at all. And I can sense when he's like and I'm kind of picking on him and I don't want to, but like then I fear getting financially involved, like marriage and stuff like that. And I've realized that my brain is just going too far. Like I need to, like you said, I need to just focus on the moment.
Right.
And it's like already I'm jumping to how will I, if I grow my business and I'm sharing finances, because we would like joke, I think it's because we've joked about me becoming like really rich and like how that's where it's triggered it. Now I realize, because we've talked about my business and like how I'm gonna, like I've told him about my business goals and stuff, and then it's like, oh, I don't mind if you're like, he goes, I don't have an issue with you being the breadwinner, like that's totally fine. And then I think all of that talk I've just like not been conscious of it when it's like thrown me off, because it's like, hang on a second, like your mindset is not right. Can I trust you? Like that's kind of where it's coming.
Right. So I hear you. So with women leading the energy of the relationship, right? So it's like you can view your partner in their limiting ideas, their stories or whatever, and come back to Barbara, right? Where it's like, I know that if at any point in time, like if we were about to be married and the financial things didn't feel congruent or didn't feel right, I could address that before I committed to that level, right? Or I could put certain things in place where I could feel good about it, right? But it's like you're not here, but you're here, and here in this moment, instead of projecting into the future, where your mind, like how we talk.
We're not even official, so I don't know.
I know. But like, listen. So with money, right? We talked about this in our last private call, where it's like your mind projects into the future, where it's like, it's the 15th or whatever of the month, and already I'm deciding the rest of the month is going to be shit. And it's like, well, why not just be here at the 15th? There's so much time left, right? And it's like this thing comes up in the relationship, and you're projecting and making it mean that in the future, when you guys get married, that there's going to be, and that's not true, right? So what you do is you come back to here and now, and then you lead accordingly. You lead the energy. So how I personally would handle it is, in knowing that I lead the energy of the relationship, is I would, if I notice some things with my partner and their money, I would just lead. I would lead him. I would show him, right? We show men how we want to be treated. If we like our men to buy us flowers and we value beauty, we're going to be like, we are providing that for ourselves first, where it's like, I go out and I buy myself flowers. And I remember I do this and I buy myself things, and now Kevin gets me flowers all the time. And it's like, I never asked him to. It's like, ooh, I want to provide that feeling for her. I see that she provides it for herself, and I want to make her feel good. Like, I see that when she buys herself flowers, she's like, ooh, and she values that in her environment. And so now he's like, let me go pick flowers from the garden. Ooh, let me go buy her flowers, blah, 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 blah. Right. So it's like, when we lead our energy of like, my money mindset's going to be good. I don't need yours to be good in order for mine to be good, partner. I'm money. I'm going to have sovereignty over my money. I don't need you to have that in order for me to feel safe in that for myself. And so when you lead like that, the aligned partner is going to follow suit, right?
Yeah.
And even begin providing it because you've shown him and you've led the way in your energy and in your actions, right? And so you have to bring your mind back to here and do it.
Yeah. No, I feel so much better. Thank you.
Good. You're so welcome. Do you feel complete, love?
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
You're so welcome. My pleasure. Awesome. Elise. Hello.
Yay.
How are you?
Hello. I'm fabulous, and it was so amazing. Like, everything the girls have spoken about so far was like so relevant and so helpful.
Good. Yay, aligned.
And thank you for saying that little introduction speech about like just stay in alignment, because like, you know, I'm not beating myself up, but I did like fall out of alignment this week, and I'm only now kind of getting back in. I got so excited because, you know, how I manifested those discovery calls, and I also had a client who's renewing her package, and I worked out that like if they all signed up on the same day, which was like actually within the realm of like potential, I would have a 10K day. And then I got really excited, but then it didn't happen. And then I let that, like, I think I brought, kind of like you were saying to Barbara, I have a narrative that like amazing things like 3 client days or 10K days don't happen to me. If they were going to happen, they would have happened by now. Like that.
I used to have that narrative too. I used to have that narrative too until I just stopped thinking those thoughts. And I didn't go, because here's what that narrative makes you want to do, right? I can't have 10K days, or I can't sign a couple clients in one day or whatever. And so then your brain's like, I know, let me get into alignment and then try and have a 10K day so I can tell that narrative to go fuck itself, or let me go get into alignment and sign 3 clients in one day, or 10K day or whatever, so that narrative can shut the fuck up. Cause right? But it's like, or you could just be in alignment and fuck all to all these rules or all these things you think you should have done by now. Just be in alignment and see what unfolds from there. And then inevitably, of course, you sign 3 clients in a day, like, and then you have a 10K day. Like, these are all goals I wanted at one point too, and have had, because I didn't try and prove anything from these narratives to shut them up. I just stopped bringing them forward. And I was like, I'm going to get into alignment to be in alignment because I want to be in alignment. And inevitably from there, I create the results and I do the things, and the things line up, and et cetera, et cetera. It happens when it happens, but I know that as long as I stay the course, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, from there, I release time. I release timing. I don't need it to happen today or tomorrow or this month or this year or whatever, in order for me to know that that things are working, right? And so I hold that, and then it's like, oh shit, I had it 2 days later. Right? Because it's like, I didn't need it. There was no pressure to have it. There was no like, let me prove something, blah, 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 or whatever. It was just like, I know these things are inevitable. Let me be in alignment to be in alignment. Right? Like, you know that at some point in time in your life, you will more than likely have a 10K day, or you will more than likely sign a couple clients in one day. But it's like, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen yet, or doesn't mean it's not going to happen. How many things in your life have you had happen that at one point didn't happen prior to that, right? A lot of things, right?
Yeah,
so
that's so good.
These are those things too, right? Just because they haven't happened yet doesn't mean they're not coming, or God, they could happen today. They could happen tomorrow, you know what I mean? But it's like, if you say they don't happen and they can't happen, they're not going to. And it's not because there's something wrong with you, or you're not that person. It's just simply the frequency is off. That's all. The universe is not like you're enough or you're not enough. It's just, hey, are you a match? Yeah, cool. Here it is. No, not yet, but we're waiting for you.
Yeah, right? That is so good. It's just that the frequency is off. And I know that it's true, because the reason it happened in the first place, that it almost lined up, was exactly this, that I dropped the story that I don't like effortlessly do things like this. So it was working. I just like,
yeah, and you don't even have to have like, I feel like it's like people overcomplicate manifestation and shit when they're like, I am the person who has this. It's like, you don't fucking believe that. Like, you know, just be in alignment and stop thinking the old narrative that says you aren't, and you'll just naturally be it and feel it. And then eventually you'll be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I can have that. And then bam, it happens. Right? Like for me with, you know, attracting clients, for example, it's like I sign clients when I'm in my power, because I know that in order for people to come into my world, I have to feel good about it, and I have to feel confident to know that I can help them. Otherwise, I'm going to feel energetically unavailable to them, because I don't want people to come into my world when I'm not feeling confident, because then I'll be like, I'll get in my head, whatever. And so that's an energetic shield I've had in the past. But when I addressed it, where it's like, how about instead of me feeling that way or getting in my power in order to sign clients, that's very conditional. How about I just work on my power and get in my power and be someone who's in her power more often than not, and get better and better and better at it every day, not from a place of pressure or I have to by the 30th of this month, otherwise it's never going to happen or whatever. It's just, let me just have it be something that I continually work on improving. And then of course, inevitably I sign people. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't have to put timelines on it or weird rules or whatever in order to mean or think that it's working, because that's not helpful. And that would make me feel like in lack or into control energy, which isn't helpful. So I'm just going to do it to do it. I'm going to get into the energy. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be in alignment, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to do what I'm led to do from there and just trust it's all working out. And from there, I don't offer limitation around time. I don't offer limitation around, is it going to happen? I'm not checking behind me because I'm so busy being here and acting on the impulses that I don't even think to look behind me on the mountain, you know, or think to check, have they messaged me? I don't do that.
Yeah, that is so interesting, because I am finding that is so true. Like the more I just get into alignment, it's like you can obviously, you know, like proactively think I am this person, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's enough to just be in alignment. From there, you naturally are confident and you naturally.
Because it's who you really are. Because all of these things that you want, you're like, I want to be the person who has 10K days. I want to be the person who signs a couple clients in a day. I want to be the person who's always consistently signing clients. I want to be the person whose business is always growing, who's always making more money, who's always feeling good, who's always feeling confident, who always knows blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's a desire in your heart because it's the truth of who you are. That is who you are. You just have a narrative that's disconnecting you from feeling it, knowing it, right? And so when you just stop introducing these narratives of like, I'm not that, I can't do that, not enough there, can't, nope, won't, can't, nope, won't, right? You just stop doing that. You just be in alignment to be in alignment. Like you're naturally going to be who you are, which is confident, which is the person who has 10K days, which is the person who signs a couple clients in a day. These things will happen inevitably, but you have to allow yourself to be in touch with them by being in alignment.
Yes, that is so good. Yay, I love it.
Claps, claps, claps.
So like I think I know this is another narrative, and I'm pretty sure I just like instantly cleaned it up, but I would love your perspective as someone on this journey. So like I thought the Queens of the Internet talk that you did was so good, and I didn't listen to all the talks, but just the whole concept of like, because thankfully I have a real like abundance mentality around coaching. Like I never feel like there's not enough clients for all of us. I think that the world needs 1 billion more coaches. Like I love seeing women do their thing. But it brought up this like belief or identity thing where I was like, you know, I think she's your friend Ashai. Is that her? Ashae? Ashai?
Oh, Shay. Yeah.
Ashai.
Yeah.
Well, this thing happened like a little while ago where I don't normally look who unsubscribes from my email list, but I just happened to this day. Yeah. And I saw she had unsubscribed from my list. Yeah. And it blew my fucking mind. Like I could not believe that she would follow me. And I realized like I put these women on this pedestal as if they would follow me, as if they would want to listen to what I have to say, like right. Almost like like this identity shift of like belonging at the table. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so with the summit, I just reminded me of that. And I was like, I wonder what it would feel like to like feel like not have that belief and feel like, of course, like, you know, I am worthy of like loving and being loved by people of this like caliber, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, totally. So leadership, which I feel like is that energy where people are drawn to you and they want to learn from you, they want to be led by you, is self-anointed, right? Which means it's not something you earn or someone says, Elise, you are now accredited at this certain level, where people who operate at this level are now going to watch you or pay attention to you or whatever. It's not like that. You are always enough and you've always been enough, right? And so when you know that and you anoint yourself as so, and you anoint yourself accordingly and you put on your damn crown, right? It's like, you're not gonna, it's, people are just people and coaches are just coaches, and some make more, some make less, or blah, 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 blah. Some have more followers, but they're all just people. We stop seeing them as like, oh my gosh, right? Because like something I really loved about Queens of the Internet was like, and it was really fascinating to see, like, because I brought up stuff for everybody who did the interviews, everybody who watched the interviews, like, you know, like I'm in Melanie's mastermind, like, you know, just what it brought up for the women in the hypermind. And I remember I had a thought for a minute where I was like comparing myself to other people, and I was like, Genevieve, stop. Like, it's not true, but we can all do that, right? So it's just like, and then they were coming in and being like, I'm comparing myself to you and I'm comparing myself to everyone. And we all did it, whether it was for a moment, 2 days or whatever. And I was like, this is hilarious. Like, this is, and it's actually kind of cool because it's like, it's just showing. And, you know, Shay's someone I know somewhat well, but, you know, I know she does it too. And she's very interesting with how she'll follow and unfollow. She's followed and unfollowed me. And, people just are who they are. We just don't need to take first off, it's not taking anything personally, and it's knowing we're all just people, right? We're all just people. And the people who are quote unquote leaders of the industry are just people who have the same or have had the same fears, doubts, and insecurities and said, I'm enough anyways. I'm enough either way. Like, it's kind of like the feeling of like, so if you look at the narrative of why would anybody like a Shay follow me, if it's like she makes more money than me or blah, blah, whatever it is, right? Whatever that narrative is, could you look at that narrative and say, and I could still lead her, and she could still benefit from my content, and I am good enough still, right? Instead of it being like this narrative of like, oh, nope, why would anybody follow me who's da, 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 right? And just be like, yes.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true because like I think Queens of the Internet was such a beautiful giant mirror for everyone to see their own thoughts.
Right.
And for me, it's just like, yeah, I feel like I don't need to have this story anymore, and just accept, well, of course, like if she wants to follow me, she can follow me. Like people are people, like we all like are on the same level in a way. Like, yeah.
Some people are looking at that wall and some people are looking at that wall.
Yeah. And it's like the same way I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe someone at her level would like, you know, like my content, although I'm not going to tell that story anymore.
Yeah.
I know that like sometimes when I reply,
of course.
sometimes when I reply to people, you know, in my DMs, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm speaking to you. So they think I'm really cool. So I think it's just like, you've helped me even see with like, you know, your insight into the hypermind that like everyone just has these bullshit stories and none of them are true.
Completely. I've never met anybody who hasn't had this narrative or doesn't fall into it sometimes. Like I do, all of my clients do, my mentor does, like everyone in the hypermind does. It's just quite funny how people view people a certain way, but it's like we're all people, we're all humans.
Yeah, and the difference is that like you don't like let it stop you. You just like move forward.
Yeah, I don't let it stop me, and I don't stay in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see an insecurity in my mind or an anxiety in my mind, and I'm gonna look at it and go, you know, sometimes I'll fall into it and be like, oh, I feel weird. What's happening?
Yeah.
I'll address it, or it's like I just see the thought and I'm like, no, and I flick it away. Or whatever. It's like, but I just navigate it, I deal with it, and I get to be successful anyways.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. I did have a question. I just love so much how you like, and it's so like, it's so genuine how you're like, oh my gosh, my program is the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, this module is so amazing. And I'm like, I wish, like, I want to feel that level of like like love, like and like belief that like my courses are next level. And it's not that they're not good, they're what worked for me, but like I think the overachiever in me, like I don't know how to lean into that energy of no, this is actually fucking amazing, the best thing ever.
So do you feel like your work is good, or do you feel like is there a narrative under the surface that it's not enough? Right? Because I feel like for me, the reason why I feel like that about my programs, and I genuinely feel like that about my programs, is because I trust myself to show up. And it doesn't mean like I know everything about everything on this subject that I'm teaching about, right? It means that I trust I am in alignment. And when I speak on like my program Magnetic, I'm obsessed with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I walk in alignment with it. I embody it. But also on top of that, when I teach it, I'm in alignment and I trust that I say exactly what needs to be said. And so I am attracting people who need to hear exactly what I'm going to say. And so because it's exactly what they need, they're like, mind is blown and I'm feeling good. And we're just like vibing off each other and we're vibing the vibes. And then I'm like, oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. It doesn't mean that, I don't know. And from there, it's like, it just feels like the best thing ever. And so it is the best thing ever. And so I tell people it's the best thing ever because it is.
Yeah.
and then,
yeah.
And then
I know that's what I mean. Like, it's so genuine. Like, I know that your programs are the best thing ever. And
right. And so it's
yeah.
because I feel like that about them, because I trust that everybody gets what they need. And I just don't get in my head about my things. I just be. I be in my programs and I say the things and I be in alignment and I say what needs to be said and I teach the things. And if that ever at any point in time I felt like something was not flowing or clicking the way I wanted it to, I would go back and relaunch the thing that I taught. And it was most of the time, it was either like, that was just in my head. It was a story. That was an insecurity. That was an anxiety, whatever. Or if I was like, I would be like, hey, I'm going to do a bonus module and I would like redo it, you know, like it always is enough and it gets to be enough all the time.
Yeah. And like, I do, when I check in, I'm like, oh, well, I do think it's good enough. But I like the story. And again, like, I think the answer is always the same, to stop telling the story. The story, I have like I know that Barbara has said before, like, oh, like, people don't get it. Like, you know, like people don't get what I teach. They're so new to it. I have the opposite belief. I'm like, surely everyone is a manifestation master. And if I explain my journaling process to them, they're going to be like, what the fuck? This is so basic. And that's why Queens of the Internet was so helpful, because I realized from that like, what you're saying is true. Like, it's not profound to you because you live it, but to the people who've never heard it or like need to hear it your way, it is profound.
Right. Yep. I completely agree with that. So it's like, yeah, it's just knowing that, because it's like this weird idea, right? Like where I think where this thought comes from for you is that it's like this idea that if it's not new to you, it's not good enough for them, right? Or if it doesn't feel like a breakthrough for you, then it can't be a breakthrough for them. But it's like, when you just be who you are, you ground into it and get out of your head, you're just going to be. You're going to be Elise, and then you're going to teach while you're being Elise, and you're not going to get in your head and get into these stories, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, and you're going to be present with the experience and be able to see it for what it is, which is people love your shit. People are obsessed with your programs, and people are changing their lives through them. Right? And then you're going to be like, it's the best thing ever. Must tell everyone right now. Give me my phone. Instagram.
Yeah.
I have something to say.
Yeah. And it's so true, because like I do get so many like people in my program say that, like, wow, this, I never heard it like this changed my life, blah blah blah. But like I think I've just got to like trust that and lean into that and practice that perspective a bit more.
Get out of your head. Whenever your head's like, this isn't good enough, just like something I do to get in my body is like, I mean, there's dance, whatever, there's self-pleasuring, but I just like put my hand on my heart and I'm like, because if I feel anxious or if I feel anything that makes me feel bad, it's an indicator that I'm in my head, right? And so when I'm in my body and I'm being, I'm not creating any false narrative. I'm not falling into any story. right? I'm being in alignment, and I'm being available to the experience that's around me, and I'm being here. And so it means I can fully receive what is in front of me, right? But if I were to get on this call, for example, and want to coach you ladies, and I had this narrative in my head that's like, am I going to do a good job today? Am I good enough? Blah, blah, blah. Like I would be like, but I don't do that. Like I come on the call, for example, and I be like, I'm here, I'm present here. And so when I'm here, naturally I'm available to source energy who flows through me, and I say exactly what needs to be said, right? And everyone gets what they need.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to manage everything, because how fucking irritating would that be as a human being to try and manage everything? I can just be receptive to source energy who sees and knows all, and just be a conduit for that.
Yeah, I love it.
Perfect.
Okay, so helpful.
Yay.
Okay, the last thing was just like, I'm stepping so much more and more into like such integrity and personal power around my coaching, and it just feels so amazing. Like so like just like a couple of things that came up this week. It's like I want to keep practicing seeing people in their power. Like my clients are doing so well, and like they're literally creating miracles, which means that when they don't, like I had a client this week, she didn't get the apartment she wanted, and I'm like, oh, like how do I not like feel almost disappointed for her and stay in my power and trust that no, she does get to create what she wants, like my other clients. Like it's like,
So
yeah.
what I notice is that when we're holding ourselves to a standard, we view our clients at that same standard, right? So when I'm walking through my life knowing that everything's always working out for me, and if I didn't get the apartment that I wanted, I would trust, know, and decide that that's because there's another apartment available to me. And I embody that, and I own that, and I invite that perspective in, and then I walk in alignment with that perspective, and I feel that, and I feel that trust, I feel that belief, I feel that knowing. Then if my client is like, oh, I didn't get the car that I wanted, I would be able to see them through the perspective of like, oh, it's a silly thing to say. Of course you're going to get the car that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
I would be knowing that for myself, so of course I would know it for them, right?
Yeah,
have you ever talked to a friend about a relationship problem, and they tell you their advice based on their lens? Like, let's say you were like, oh, this relationship conversation about my partner, blah, blah, blah. And they're a woman who doesn't trust men. They're like, yep, all men are like this. Da, 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 da. Can't trust them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what the fuck? How did you get that out of this at all? Like, you know,
Yeah.
so like we do this with our clients where it's like, that's why it's like leadership is key, self-leadership, where it's like when I hold myself to the highest standard, I can hold my clients to that as well. Right.
Yeah.
And that energy isn't backing it up because it's just lip service, and it's like, yeah, it's working, right? If I'm not actually owning it, because when the energy is backing it up, they feel it, right? And then I'm also like, it goes beyond just a phrase; it goes into a conversation and into coaching.
Yeah, it's like when Abraham is like has someone in the hot seat, and Abraham fully knows that like this person is on track, like that. Like the person can like hear them almost vibrationally. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
they view them accordingly, and they're like, well, I actually see you in my mind here, and you're telling me that you're here, silly human. Let me call you over here, right? But if they were here and you were like, oh shit, you're here, then you wouldn't be able to leave them anywhere because you're here with them.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, like in my own life, like there has been situations, I mean, we all have situations where the thing we want, it doesn't manifest immediately, but then the better thing comes along or whatever, and you just are trusting the process. Like it's like manifesting 101. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, that's so helpful. You just like, I love you. You just know all the things. And just the other one was like, someone reached out to me about coaching, and like they wanted help with lots of different things, and that's kind of my zone of genius. Like my best clients ever always like need a little bit of help with business, a little bit of help with confidence, a little bit of help with travel, luxury, all the different things. But one of her big goals was like manifesting love, and it's I'm trying to work out like where I stand with coaching on that, because like on the one hand, like my coaching school, you know, the the process we're taught in traditional life coaching is like, you don't have to run a marathon to help someone run a marathon. And so like from a law of attraction perspective, I get relationships. I've done so much fucking inner work on like aligning myself with feeling worthy of like a relationship and masculine feminine polarity and all that stuff. But on the other hand, like like my relationship, like I'm no longer like, I believe in my eventual soulmate relationship, but like I'm currently transitioning, so I don't actually have the result anymore in that area. So I'm like, maybe I should refer her to someone else, or is God sending her to me because she needs my codes? Like, I really, like, I'm not attached to if she signs up. I really, from a heart-centered place, want to make sure she gets what she needs, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, do you feel the click with her? Do you feel the alignment click? Like, where when you connected with her, it just feels right. You feel that resonance of like a soulmate client.
Yeah, not as much as like my favorite clients ever, but yes, like she's cut from the same cloth, if that makes sense.
So then I would speculate that she does desire or is a good fit for a lot of things, but maybe not everything that she needs help with. So you can trust no and decide that she gets exactly what she needs from you, and you can trust her to walk her path. Right. But if she's coming to you exclusively for relationship coaching. Yeah. Then that would be maybe where I would be like, right. But it's not bad or wrong that she did. And there's nothing bad or wrong about that. But it's like, you can feel how it feels in the energy.
Yeah. I love this. This is so helpful. I'm going to relook at like her questionnaire answers, because you're so right. If her only goal is relationships, I actually would prefer to refer her out. Not that like, again, I've helped clients with that. I've got clients results with that, but like, it's not actually even my favorite thing to only focus on that.
Like,
whereas if
a secondary thing versus like one of the,
if I look at her questionnaire again, and I can tell she's more like, I want to up-level my whole life and relationships is one part of it, then I'll be like, yes, perfect. I've got the codes. That's so helpful. Thank you. That cleared everything up. Yay.
Yay. You're so welcome. Awesome, loves. Well, I will post the replay probably this evening or tomorrow at the latest inside the group and inside the Voxer chat. And if anything else comes up, I'm here for you. Drop it in the chat. I may be unavailable this evening because I'm having family over, and we're going to have veggie burgers and champagne. So
yay, so fun.
I love you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.